Was that the top for Bitcoin? In today's video, we'll be talking about this, taking you through my most recent trades because yes, I did short Bitcoin, and of course, going over what could be happening next in this market as we just got rejected from around $98,000. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. Let's get right to the point here. If that wasn't the top for Bitcoin, it is likely very, very close. Now, in my previous videos, I discussed how I would be trying to short the top. Every single time that we do experience some nice momentum to the upside, as soon as I see those signs of exhaustion, I go ahead and short and then I protect my position. Right now, I am in a Bitcoin short from above $97,000. You can see that it's currently sitting just around $52,000 in profits. This was shared in my free community. Now, if you want the insights as to how my community looks, this is exactly it. So basically, I gave my thought process as to why I wanted to short Bitcoin, and I also shared that if I did get stopped out of break even, I would simply look to re-enter, because the reality is no one can time the bottoms and the tops perfectly. You can only get relatively close and hope that the price action develops in a favorable manner. So at this point in time, as soon as I saw the signs of exhaustion, I went ahead and entered a Bitcoin short. Now, my invalidation for my trade was if we were to go ahead and claim the highs, which you can see here, we simply did not manage to do so. Look how close Bitcoin came into grabbing this high, but the price action tells the entire story. Failing to claim the high does mean that we will get that momentum to the downside, which is what I was anticipating even after a pretty big move up here. So I maintained in my position and I'm simply holding on to that trade. Here is more of the analysis that I shared in my free premium group on Telegram. So basically, as the lower high was respected, I was considering closing my position at break even, and I also secured around 15% profits on this trade. I said that the 4-hour candle would be very telling. Now, what do you notice here? What happened to the Bitcoin price action? Well, on this local candle late yesterday evening, we managed to get a lot of buying pressure almost immediately. And to me, this was actually a signal that I would likely get stopped out of my trade. However, if we go a little bit more locally here, you can see exactly how the price action materialized. So we had this dump, and then just a few minutes before that 4-hour candle close, we got a lot of buying pressure, and I saw a lot of longs entering right at these lows, because usually when you can go ahead and sweep these local lows, we tend to get a little bit of a reaction. This is exactly what happened. People piled into longs, and this was my update within the community. I want to hold out on this trade unless we can go ahead and claim the highs. The reason is simple. Failure to claim the highs would mean that we would be moving lower from there. And you can see exactly what I was looking at. A lot of longs piled in locally, and we are just failing short of the local highs. Bearish scenario is still valid until we can technically claim the highs. So, because of this, I'm happy to use my 15% profits in case we reject right before taking the high or upon a classic sweep. So you can see that my invalidation was a 15-minute candle close above these highs. Once we started to stall out right before reaching those local highs, that was all I needed to know for us to go ahead and move lower from that level. Trading is all about probabilities, and because we didn't claim those highs, the probabilities were really in our favor to move lower, and therefore I maintained my Bitcoin short. So I've seen it too many times where we sweep or even reject right before dumping, and I don't want to waste the opportunity if we end up doing so. This is the exact reason why I decided to go and short Bitcoin, because no one will get the perfect top. I entered right around $97,000. Bitcoin actually pumped up to $98,000, but my conviction remained, and I am still in my Bitcoin short trade. So basically, you can see how the price action developed. We ended up sweeping the lows, getting a big pump, and then another big dump. And the bulls really wanted to protect the level, which was at the time $95,700. So right now you can see that Bitcoin did manage to break below that level, and we're currently at another support level. So can Bitcoin move higher from here? There is always a possibility, because we are trying very hard to hold this level as support as seen on the charts. If you want access to my free insights when I go long and when I go short in this market, make sure to join the first link in my description down below. You click this link up here and you'll get access to my free Telegram community. The only requirement, as I've always shared, is that you've signed up with one of my affiliate exchange links and you start trading on there. What I would typically recommend recommend if you're trading on another exchange and you want to join my community, simply join me on Bluffin, which is where I trade most of my capital. Make that your main exchange and then go ahead and join my free community. That's the first link in my description down below. DM me the keyword premium and you'll get sent a message with all of the details to be able to join my free group. Now, a little caveat here, obviously I'm not a fortune teller, but I just play the probabilities. And the probabilities of a rejection from around this region were extremely high. The real question is now, are we going to go ahead and sweep the highs once more to potentially get a better short entry? Right now, my position is protected. I took some profits. My stop loss is at break even, but I wouldn't rule out the possibility of another sweep higher. And I'll talk about this in today's video. Also, before I continue the video, please remember, nothing that I discuss on the channel should be construed as financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing all of my own personal trades in this market and, of course, my overall analysis. Now, let's get into the more detailed charts. So you can see that Bitcoin did get rejected right below $98,000. There's two camps right now. The first camp says that this 80K low is absolutely the bottom of the bear market and Bitcoin will extend into a super cycle and we will just absolutely explode from here. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that this is not my base case. I do think that we will revisit these lows at some point in time, and I've continued to repeat that on the channel. However, locally, you can see that we did form some bullish momentum as liquidity continues to get built up right here below this trend line. So the real question is, are we going to get another move up? Or was that it? Are we just going to start rolling over from here? And to be honest, I can't give you a straight answer. No one knows. That's why it makes sense at these local tops to attempt shorts with good risk management. So at this point in time, we're going to have to see how the price action develops. If Bitcoin is to go ahead and push up a little bit more, I do anticipate a rejection from around this zone. Give or take a few $1,000s, I will likely be entering a swing short if I get the opportunity to do so and Bitcoin does go ahead and move up and my stop loss at break even gets hit on my most recent Bitcoin short trade. But this is how you want to play the market, because if we don't move up from here and Bitcoin does end up maybe forming another lower high, then we get rejected, well, I'll be more than happy that I'm in that short because it is still a relatively big position. So right now, taking a look at the range that Bitcoin has been in for a while, if we go on the 4-hour chart, you can see that we did extend above this range. Now, this could be seen as potentially a bullish retest of the top of this range before we can get another little move to the upside. But ultimately, I am still eyeing a bigger short if I get the opportunity to do so. I am not that much of a scalp trader, but if you're looking for a potential trade setup, it could be upon confirmation above this channel before we can go ahead and get another move to the upside. I want to be very clear. I am not disregarding the fact that there is a possibility that we can sweep the highs once more. And in fact, I would much prefer that because then I'd get an even better entry on my Bitcoin swing short. So at this point in time, let's see how the price action develops. But what you don't want to see if you're a bull here is for us to get acceptance back in the range. Acceptance back in the range opens up the door for much, much lower drops in Bitcoin and of course across the entire crypto market. So what I'd be looking at for a potential long setup could be a sweep of these lows or preferably a sweep of these lows in the low 94K zone, because you can see that this got a very, very nice reaction previously, and therefore if we get acceptance below and then we reclaim the level, it could be a very, very cheeky long in the market targeting all the way above this level. Just keeping it real, that's what I'm eyeing. And of course, if you want to see my exact execution in real time, you do have the first link in my description down below, which is my free community. So right now, this is another reason why I'm not disregarding the possibility of us sweeping the highs once more. And you can see that a lot of people did try to short this. Now, on the shorter time frames, when Bitcoin dropped here, a lot of people went long, as I explained in the beginning of this video. And so the probabilities of us going ahead and sweeping those lows once more increased after not taking those highs. But right above $98,000, there's a very good cluster of liquidity. But to the downside, it's inevitable, in my opinion, that we will grab this liquidity because, remember, we are still very much in a bearish trend. And therefore, it makes sense to look for shorts in the market when we test those higher up resistance levels. Now, something I also want you to understand, if you're new to the channel, of course, I did go long right at those lows when Bitcoin tapped into the 80K level. Everyone was freaking out, and I'm sorry to repeat this across all of my YouTube videos, but the point that I want to get across is you try to identify high risk to reward opportunities in this market. And if you can do so, then you can simply sit in your positions and you're extremely comfy. You can see I secured some very, very nice profits on this trade, and I'm leaving the rest unrealized in case we do go ahead and move higher from here. So let's take a look at this range. Acceptance back in the range will not be good. On the weekly time frame, especially if Bitcoin does start getting acceptance back in the range, and for example, we close the weekly candle below here, then I would actually say that there's a high probability that we will come back down sooner rather than later. Now, from a spot perspective, if you're new to the channel, my base case is that we will likely go below $80,000 and actually likely below these tariff lows at some point this year. And this would be seen as a good value zone to start dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. The lower we go, the more I would buy spot Bitcoin in preparation for the next bull market cycle. Just trade the market that is right in front of you. Don't get caught up in being a perma bear or a perma bull. The key thing is here, we're approaching resistance. It makes sense to look for shorts. And when we're approaching support, it makes sense to look for longs. From a spot perspective, the only thing that I do is try to buy in deep value zones. And below these tariff lows would be considered a deep value zone. That is for the long term, of course. And I really have to bring this to your attention. Look at the 30-day time frame for the Bitcoin exchange liquidation map. There is around $15 billion worth of cumulative long liquidation leverage. So if Bitcoin were to go back to the range lows, actually only down to $84,000, all of these longs would be liquidated. If Bitcoin were to go all the way up to $108,000, there is only around 2.5 billion worth of cumulative short liquidation leverage. Longs have piled in over the past 30 days, and it does make sense. I mean, look at the price action. I even entered a cheeky long at the lows. But what I want to get across here is these longs are most certainly not safe, in my opinion, if history is to repeat and we are to get more bearish price action, because yes, I do believe we are in a bear market. Something else that you need to consider. Coinbase Premium, you know exactly what I'm going to say. We got the spike of green, which we've seen time and time again, only to get rejected, and then we see a deep sea of red. The Coinbase Premium is negative, therefore the Bitcoin price drops. Then we start to form a bottom, and then you can see the Bitcoin price increases. We had another green spike for the Coinbase Premium. Only time will tell if maybe today, tomorrow, we can get some more buying, but we're back into the sea of red. And if this continues, Bitcoin will likely move lower from here. Now, from the ETF's perspective, you can see we still got about $100 million worth of inflows, and Fidelity did end up selling a huge portion. BlackRock bought around 300 million. This is BlackRock's clients, of course. But what I want to get across here is you can see that the inflows are starting to slow down. So if this becomes negative, this only adds fuel to the fire of sending Bitcoin lower. But it wouldn't surprise me if we do get a cheeky move to the upside from these market makers. You know they have a way of shaking out all market participants, whether you're going long or whether you're going short. Now, to some people, this is frustrating. Why can't it be easier? But if you learn to read the liquidity maps and you learn to trade the price action that's right in front of you, not get caught up in being a perma bear or a perma bull, it's actually relatively easy to trade this market. The only thing that really separates the good and the great traders is proper risk management. Once you have that on lock, you are good to go. And something else I want to bring up for Bitcoin's use case, you can see that the Iranian Bitcoin withdrawals hit record highs as their currency continues to collapse. So Bitcoin is seen as a store of value in some countries. We need to understand that. I think that ultimately in our lifetime, Bitcoin will continue to increase. Of course, not financial advice, but this is the basis of all of my trading. I try to make as much money trading the crypto market as possible, and then I take those profits and I essentially stack them into Bitcoin when we are in deep value zones to go ahead and ride the wave up in the next bull market. Something else, we need to understand that we are right here. I completely agree with this. I think that what we're seeing right now is complacency. We had a pretty big drop, and of course, a lot of people are now saying that we're going to make a brand new all-time high for Bitcoin. Currently not my base case. Happy to pivot my stance if we get acceptance back above the bull market support band. That is weekly closes above that level, of course. But at this point in time, I still think that what we're seeing here is complacency, and eventually Bitcoin will likely move lower from here. That is my base case. So with this kind of price action, we also got Congress delaying the crypto market structure legislation, otherwise known as the Clarity Act. The Coinbase and Robinhood stocks did fall because of this. And here's the CEO of Coinbase discussing exactly what was wrong with the Clarity Act as it's currently written.
Well, I think the high-level principle here is that we can't really have banks come in and try to kill their competition at the expense of the American consumer, right? People in America should be able to earn more money on their money. I think stablecoins are an opportunity for banks. They should be able to build great product lines with this. It's an opportunity for crypto companies. Congress and the laws that get passed, they should really create a level playing field and say, this is allowed, this is not allowed. Now, all American companies, go compete, try to build the best products and services. That's great. What's not great is if the banks can put their thumb on the scale to try to kill some of their competition, and they only pay about, 14 basis points on the average savings account. Consumers should be able to earn 3.8% on their stablecoin rewards. And so we're going to keep fighting for our customers' rights and the 52 million Americans who use crypto every day.
I mean, what would you say to the argument that banks have put forward that because of the role they play in the economy, the loans that they make, if they do wind up seeing billions of dollars, as some have estimated would have happened going from banks to stablecoin, they say that could have a big impact on the economy. What's your response to that?
Yeah, well, banks don't have a monopoly on lending money. Actually, crypto is doing quite well in this area as well, and crypto is a technology to update all parts of the financial system, whether it's lending, capital formation, etc. So I think banks do play an important role in the economy and making these loans. Crypto should be allowed to do similar types of activity. We're not engaged in fractional reserve lending. That's an important point, by the way, because the bank license, what that really allows you to do is fractional reserve. The banks don't have all of your money there. That's why there's so much oversight, and you can have these runs on the bank. Stablecoins have 100% reserve, right? And they're all the assets now post-Genius are held in this short-term U.S. Treasuries. So in my view, it's actually a safer place to store your money, and crypto companies should be allowed to compete and offer loans just like banks.
And I completely agree with that last point especially. I actually hold more of my funds in stablecoins compared to my bank account simply because I trust crypto more. That might sound crazy, but I've been in the space since 2017, and ultimately, this is what we're here for. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. The last thing I wanted to show you, I mean, this is just jokes at this point. We have the guy with the world's highest IQ coming out and saying, next 24 hours, Bitcoin, $100,000. There's so many price predictions like this on Twitter. You really need to be careful who you're following. Ultimately, I think we're out of that era of crazy price predictions. If you're going to trade the market, trade the probabilities, trade the market that's right in front of you. Don't follow bullshit like this and just expect it to happen. Look, he just posted this. Anyone can be a millionaire with XRP. What a load of crap. And the final point of this video, this is a very, very interesting post from a trading perspective that I want to share with you, more psychology than anything. Any respectable trader remains aware of alternative market perspectives, but execution must be governed exclusively by their own system. I have my own system for trading this market. I share it with you guys in my community every single day, and I try to also do so on the YouTube channel, but I do have my own system and I don't follow anyone else. External inputs may inform analysis, but they should never alter a predefined plan. Openness improves signal awareness. Discipline preserves statistical integrity. Markets are adversarial by nature. While we can joke or talk about positions, the reality is that deploying capital happens in a zero-sum environment where everyone is competing for the exact same edge. A core principle of trading is adherence to a tested methodology and acceptance of outcome variance when assumptions fail. Trading is probabilistic, not reactive. If a position is wrong, it should be wrong by design, consistent with the model, the rules, and the thesis, rather than distorted by external influence. Being wrong within your own system is an acceptable cost of execution. I've been wrong before, I will be wrong again. Being wrong due to deviation is not. So the point of this message, make sure that you have your system in place, follow your system, and try not to get influenced by external factors. This is also one of the reasons why I told you that if you're following a bunch of crypto influencers, a bunch of crypto analysts, traders, you should probably only pick a select few and stick to those, because this can kind of give you some strong insights to the market. Ultimately, with those perspectives matched with your own, you can make informed decisions in this market, and ultimately, that's what leads you to profitable trading. I hope that makes sense. Never, and I mean never, blindly follow anyone just because they said something would happen. I just play the probabilities, and that's exactly why I present the information as such on my YouTube channel. For example, on this most recent trade, it made sense to go short, especially because we didn't manage to sweep the highs. And as soon as we got this little wick up here, I knew that the probabilities were in my favor for this short-term trade to play out. Now, will this be the final top? Only time will tell. Ultimately, I am perfectly ready to enter a bigger swing short if Bitcoin is to climb up from here. Of course, this is not financial advice, just sharing with you my thought process. We are still in a bear market, and I do think that what we're seeing is a little bit of a relief rally. And that sums up today's quick video. I entered the Bitcoin short, holding that position with my stop loss at break even, and now I am simply waiting to see what the market will do. If we can get another sweep higher, then great. Perfect opportunity to start building out a swing short in this market as we approach critical resistance. However, if we move lower from here, of course, I will be very, very happy with my execution on this most recent Bitcoin short trade. Now, for spot opportunities, I still think that we will see deeper value opportunities for Bitcoin. I don't think that we're just going to absolutely fly to $150,000, as a lot of people are now claiming we will be in a super cycle, but that's besides the point. I will be buying Bitcoin in deep value zones, ultimately starting to dollar cost average slowly below $80,000. And the lower we go, the more I would DCA into Bitcoin. Hope that makes sense. Hope you appreciated the video. As always, if you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. I hope you all have a lovely weekend. I have my bluffin' leverage trading tutorial right here, which is exactly how I trade the market. And I'll see you in the next video.